Hello everyone, and welcome back. It is super dark right now. I'm actually filming, I want to say 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening, but it's not even. It's only 3 in the afternoon. It is dark outside. It is really dark. We are very clearly in midwinter. We're very close to the end of the year, and because of that, it is just so miserable. It has been raining all day here. I have done a couple of different things. I've been editing a podcast for our podcast, funnily enough. I've also been editing a couple of videos, filming a reading vlog, but I thought it would be finally a nice time to sit down and complete the end of year book tag. I really enjoyed making the mid-year book tag. It was one of the first ever videos I put on this channel. I can't remember if it is the first or if it's just one of the first, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it would be really cute to look back on myself pretty much like every sort of like half of a year to see where I'm reading, what I've been up to, etc. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at the end of your book tag, and I have my phone with me. It's currently on its charger, so I'm making sure that I don't pull my whole extension cord off. But before we begin, I'll give you some life updates because I love a life update. So I am working all the way through Christmas. For anyone who doesn't know, I have a full-time job. And I'm actually not mad about it. We're staying in Glasgow with my fiance's parents for Christmas this year because that's where we live. We live in Glasgow, and I said I was going to go home every other year for Christmas, but this year we decided to do 2 years in a row here, and then next year we'll go home to my family. And I'm kind of happy because work's super busy, but not my social life, but just like my personal life has been super busy as well. So it's super nice to have this time to relax. I am going to make a pavlova on Christmas like I did last year, help cook Christmas dinner. It's going to be really nice. I have just finished purchasing all my Christmas presents. There are a couple left to arrive, so hopefully they will appear by the time Christmas sort of hits next week. Other than that, what else have I been up to? I did buy a new reading chair, so the corner of my bookcase is gonna have a chair in that corner as of the end of next week. I ordered one on Amazon that I've seen a lot of people use, and I thought that instead of lying in bed all the time, I would just love a little reading chair. Plus I film podcast episodes against that bookcase, and I'm finding that my back's getting really sore sitting on the floor, so I've bought a chair. That's where I'm at. I made some gingerbread biscuits today. That was super fun, and I'm gonna ice those after this while I FaceTime my mum. Let me know in the comments what you guys have been up to, because I would love to hear about other people's weeks. I think that's really interesting. So, without rambling on any further, let's get into the end of year book tag. So question 1, the most disappointing book of the year. My most disappointing book of the year is actually the first book that I read in 2024. My friend Abby really loves this book, and I was so excited to read it because we have really similar reading tastes, and then I just did not like it, and that was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Which is a little bit of a shame, but podcast bestie Molly did say that she likes some of Madeline Miller's other books, but not necessarily that one. So unfortunately, I was really looking forward to reading it, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I found it kind of boring, but maybe it just wasn't the right book for me as a person. Question number 2 is, what was an overhyped book that you read? Now, I have chosen Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. Now, I found the book to be, it was super overhyped, and coming off the back of Powerless, which I did really enjoy, I had really high impressions for this as well, and it just wasn't that great. I will probably pick up the third one because I am interested to see where the story goes. I feel like book 2 was very much a building book. It was building up to the big thing that happened at the end, and then that's where it ended. So it didn't have as much substance as I wanted. Saying that, I will pick up the third one because I am interested to see how it ends. A book that surprised you. So I have two on this. So the first one is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Now, I am a fantasy romance girly through and through, enemies to lovers through and through, and I was so worried about this because I'm not a big vampire reader. Carissa Broadbent after this has become one of my favourite authors for this year. I love her now, and I've read 4 of her books. I'd love to read Daughter of No Worlds next year. And I also got The Songbird and the Heart of Stone recently delivered, so I'm excited to read that as well. And the second book that surprised me was House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I had never read any TJ Klune's books either. I know they can be fantasy-like, but I didn't think it was the type of fantasy I would go for. But I was really pleasantly surprised. House in the Cerulean Sea is about an orphanage for magically gifted children, and it is about a magical social worker who goes and stays with them for a while, and it's just really wholesome, really sweet. It's like found family. It's beautiful. I would 100% recommend that one. I did give it 5 stars, so. The next question is your favourite book couples of the year. So I have 1 fantasy couple and 2 romance couples. So my fantasy couple is of course Xaden and Violet. Where I can't really say much about Xaden and Violet. They were my favourite fantasy couple last year. They're my favourite fantasy couple this year. I recently reread Fourth Wing as part of my reread before Onyx Storm comes out in January. I tabbed the book. There will probably be a reading vlog on that at some point, but I thoroughly love them. I just love them, especially in the first book. And then I also have Emmy and Luke from Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, and Daphne and Miles from Funny Story by Emily Henry. I have read a lot more romance this year than I thought. A lot of sports romance, a lot of cowboy romance. I've been really big into like Elsie Silver, Lila Sage, Emily Henry. I'm trying to think of some others, Hannah Bonham Young, and I've been in my romantasy era this year, so a lot of couples from there, but those are my top 2. The next question then is your favourite main characters of the year. I have 2 favourite main characters, and both of them are from Kindle Unlimited series. So the first one is DM from Spark of the Everflame. If you've read Spark of the Everflame, you will be as frustrated in your heart as I am right now at the fact that the 4th one is not out yet, and I want it so bad, so I'm hoping in the next year it'll be released. And then the second character I have is Sarah from Dagger and the Flame. Oh, actually, I thought Sarah was from a different series for a second, but Dagger and the Flame is not a Kindle Unlimited book. It is a hard copy by Catherine, one of the Twin Crowns authors. Is it Catherine Doyle or Catherine Weber? Catherine Doyle? I'm having a wee look to see where she is. Yeah. It was who I thought it was, that's fine. But this book was really good, and Sarah is such an interesting main character, and I love her. The next question is your favourite author you discovered this year. I have 3. I'm just going to list them off. So we've got Elsie Silver. I have spent the majority of this year reading every book Elsie Silver has written, apart from Wild Eyes, but it is upcoming in the next month. Carissa Broadbent, Serpent and the Wings of Night author, love her now, and also A.F. Stedman. A.F. Stedman wrote the Scander and the Unicorn middle grade series. It has been probably one of my top, if not the top, book series of this year. I loved Percy Jackson when I was younger, I loved Harry Potter when I was younger, and I haven't found something that hits quite like the way that those books hit when I was growing up, and the Scander and the Unicorn series is so unbelievably good. There are 4 books out at the moment, and the 5th one has just been announced for August next year. I am so excited. I have already pre-ordered it. I just can't wait. Like, I love her books. They're amazing, and I'm so happy that they fell into my lap. Our next question is an author that didn't work out for you this year. This is gonna sound so bad because Six of Crows is one of my favourite series of all time, but an author that didn't quite work out for me this year was Leigh Bardugo. I read The Familiar and I didn't enjoy it. I also read Ninth House, and Ninth House was okay, but I haven't picked up Hellbent. I don't know whether I'm just not interested in the genre that she's now almost writing in, and I can't deny that they're good books, they're just not for me. What is the happiest book that you read this year? This one's easy. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I love this book. I will scream about this book from the rooftops. It is the most coziest, wholesome fantasy. If you ever grew up playing games like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, if you love things like Disney Dreamlight Valley, Fae Farm, if you love cozy farming games, anything like that, you'll love this book. It's so cozy, it's so wholesome, it's about building a new life. It also has a sentient talking spider plant, and a little bit of romance. So it's really sweet. So I would 100% recommend. Then we have the saddest book that you read this year. I'm gonna have to say Fourth Wing. Now, I've read Fourth Wing 3 times now. I read it when it sort of the first couple of months after it came out. I read it last year. Or I think I read it earlier this year as well. But I recently did the reread before Onyx Storm coming out, and if you know, you know, I sobbed towards the end of that book. I think because I was tabbing it, I was also a lot more invested this time as well, so it hit harder, but I sobbed uncontrollably. Nothing more to be really said there. And the most frustrating book you read this year, this one's pretty easy, and this was A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. Danielle L. Jensen was a really big author for me. I loved the Stolen Songbird series, I loved the Bridge Kingdom series, but this series just flopped for me. I mean, I'll probably pick up the next one. I actually don't know if I will. I think maybe the first one was enough. I did find it pretty boring. It was all right for the first 30%, and it was okay for the last 10% of the book, but that whole middle chunk just didn't really interest me at all. And I'm so sad to say that, because she is a very highly anticipated and highly rated author for me personally, but it just didn't hit the way I wanted it to. Next question is the best book adaptation of the year. I actually haven't watched any book adaptations this year. I meant to watch Percy Jackson on Disney Plus, the new TV show, and I haven't watched it yet. But I would like to give a big shout out to the Shadowhunters series on Netflix and the Shadow and Bone series on Netflix, because Six of Crows was robbed. It was robbed. I'm so furious about it. I'm so furious that it got cancelled, because where are my Six of Crows girlies and boys? You'll understand. We were robbed of some good quality television. Your favourite covers of the year. This one was really difficult. So at the time of making this video, I've read 107 books this year, and pretty hard to pick a couple of covers that I really loved, so I have chosen 5. I'm going to display them right here. So we had Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I just love that this is so bright, so colourful with just the eyes, and the hardcover is stunning. Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. I love the way that these books look, like the almost like the artistic style of them. The Skander and the Unicorn series, but specifically Skandam and the Phantom Rider, the way that just the blue wave looks in this is stunning. Burning Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. It's the last book in the Twin Crowns series. And lastly, Lore of the Wilds by Annalise Brana. So beautiful. I remember seeing this book in the bookshop earlier this year and just thinking, I need that. I need that book on my shelf. It's stunning. I actually bought it and read the whole thing within a day, the same day that I purchased it. So if you're looking for a good 5-star read with some fae in it, this book's a good one. A book that you haven't stopped thinking about. So I've got 3. The first one is Fourth Wing. Obviously, I can't stop thinking about it right now with Onyx Storm's impending release. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, because it's just so cozy and happy, and when I think about it, it just makes me feel all warm inside. And lastly, Metal Slinger. If you have not read Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder, where the fuck have you been this year? Where have you been this year? This is amazing. It's on KU. Every time I think about it, I think about the ending of that book and I want to scream. You need to read it. It's incredible. I'll say nothing else, but it's almost like a 10-star read for me. 100% recommend. An unpopular book that you loved. This one was difficult, but I'm gonna say Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which is the Rose Hill series book 1. I know a lot of people had a lot of mixed reviews about this book. I personally loved it. I thought it was really, really good, but I've seen it being very 50-50 on whether the Elsie Silver diehard fans like it or hate it. So I liked it. I would definitely recommend you reading it, and if you like any of Elsie Silver's other works, I would recommend reading it and forming your own opinions, but I did enjoy it. A book you thought you'd love but didn't. Tomorrow, Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I was moved. I did cry, and I did think it was quite an interesting read, but it just wasn't for me. And I think that it got an awful lot of hype and was recommended to me an awful lot, but it just wasn't a book that was for me specifically. A book with the most unique concept that you've read this year. I think I'm going to give this to R.F. Kuang again with Yellowface. I've never seen anything like this book before, and it gripped me in a way that I didn't think it would. A book that you read this year that you would reread. I have 3, Spark of the Everflame, and I will be rereading the series before the 4th one comes out. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Again, I really enjoyed it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It's just been traditionally published, and I will want to read it again before the 2nd one comes out. And Metal Slinger, of course, by Rachel Snyder, because I need to feel this in my bones again. And now I know what happens at the end of this book, I really want to go back and read and see if there is any foreshadowing, because I do not think that there was any foreshadowing at all. And that's why the ending hit me so hard. So hard. So I want to go back and read that one again. 2024 reading goal reflection and reading goal for 2025. I started this year, I read 83 books in 2023. So I actually started this year by settling it at 50 because I wanted to slow down a little bit and enjoy the books that I was reading, because in 2023 I hit 75 close to the end of the year and then just slammed out a bunch of books to try and up my score. So I didn't want to do that this year, but I ended up setting a 50 goal. I passed that by about July, and then I set it 75, and then I passed that by September, and then I set it to 100, and then I passed that at the end of November. So that's kind of crazy. So I'm currently sitting at 107. I do have a little short story novella that I want to read, which will take it up to 108. And then I would like to read at least 1 more Christmas romance, if not 2 by the end of the year. So I'm kind of hoping I'll reach 110 by the end of the year, but you know, I'm super proud of myself for what I've accomplished this year reading-wise, especially with how busy life has actually been this year. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. This year has been really, really crazy. And I haven't watched as much TV. I haven't played as many games this year. And you can see why, because I've just been lost in book after book after book. And I found myself actually reading multiple books at once this year, which I didn't do last year. But it's been nice. So that's where we are. Regarding 2025, I think I'm going to set my goal at 75, because 50 just, as I learned from this year, isn't enough, but I don't want to push myself and set a goal of 100 when I'm just surpassing it at the last month of this year. So I'm going to set it at 75 at the moment, but I probably will surpass it. And even if I don't, it doesn't really matter. Part of me feels like setting a goal is interesting to see how many you can read, but at the same time, I don't want to hold myself to that structure, because obviously some books are shorter, some books are longer. I know I want to go on like a romance binge, and they'll be really, really quick. I'll be able to knock out like 20 books in like a month. But then obviously I've got a lot of higher stakes fantasy books on my list for next year. And even with Onyx Storm coming out, I want to take my time and I want to tab more books. So we'll see. Books you wish you got to this year. I have 3. Kingdom of the Wicked, the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Kerry Maniscalco, Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver, because I haven't managed to read it yet, and Daydream by Hannah Grace. And the last question is, what will you prioritise in your 2025 reading year? I have a couple. So I am, of course, prioritising Onyx Storm. So I will be wanting to reread Iron Flame. I'll probably start it before the end of the year, and I'll be hoping to finish that before Onyx Storm comes out, and then obviously Onyx Storm is going to take priority over everything that comes out in January. I also am going to be rereading the Mass verse, the Sarah J. Maas verse, with Molly and Crimson over on our Faefic and Fiction podcast. We are actually going to start reading that early January, but the first episode will drop in March. We are going to be doing an episode of every book, all the way through. We're going to do all of Throne of Glass, including the short story collection Assassin's Blade. We are going to do all of ACOTAR, we're going to do all of Crescent City, and then hopefully by the time that we finish, because we know that the episodes will be dropping like every 3 weeks, and we know that by the time we finish Throne of Glass, it'll be nearly July. So it'll probably take us the whole year, but hopefully then we have some form of announcement from Sarah, because I'm hoping it'll be ACOTAR 6 that she announces next. It better be ACOTAR 6, because I need to get back into that world. I'm praying that by the time we finish, we'll have an announcement, and that'll be super fun. I am also going to prioritize When the Moon Hatched, because I have a beautiful copy and have meant to get round to it and round to it and round to it and round to it and haven't this year. Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent, because it came out in November and I haven't picked it up, and it's really a really highly anticipated book for me. I think it's going to be a 5-star read for me personally. And lastly, I have Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. I didn't realise that I liked cowboy romances as much as I actually do. I've obviously read all of Elsie Silver's books this year, but Lila Sage has become very, very, very high rated 5-star author for me. I've rated all 3 books so far in that series a 5-star, so Wild and Wrangled, crossing all of my limbs that it's another 5-star read for 2024. Or 2025, God. That I'm not going to get used to that. Also, I'm 27 in 2025, so that's crazy. And I do have a bit of backache, so I suppose that's expected, isn't it? So thank you so much for watching. I feel like this is going to be one of my last videos for 2024. I know that I'm going to do this video and then picking my January reads before the end of December, but I would like to thank everybody who has subscribed this year. I started this channel a couple of months ago, and the fact that I have already hit 100 subscribers is crazy to me. I didn't think anyone was going to subscribe to me, and it means the world that some people, even if they are just my family and my friends from my personal life, it just means a lot to me that someone's watching and someone has any interest in what I have to say. So thank you very much, so much from the bottom of my heart if you've been on this journey with me so far. I'm so excited to see what 2025 brings. Obviously my next video will be my January reads video, but if you missed that, or you don't want to subscribe and you're just here for the fun of it, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, whether you celebrate the season or not, whether your year has been good, year has been bad, I hope that you have a nice festive period, or you make the most of the festive period that you have. And here's the 2025. Here's the 2025 reads. So I'll see you later. Bye.